Sorry, I was jamming out to the music. Woo! Welcome, everybody. We are AUG Forums Live. I'm Ryan Brown, your host today, CEO of SQLite Technologies. We have Tim Rodman with us. Hello, Tim. Welcome. He's our producer, co-host a lot of times, and we also have Gabriel Mashad with us today. He is
Hello, everyone.
He is the developer, founder, CEO, big chief of Velixo, and he's gonna work with us today on Power Up Excel. So welcome, everybody. The couple things real quick, and Tim, if you can throw me up my slides, we gotta keep the lights on here. So a little reminder: if you like what you're seeing today, go visit our sponsors. It's augforums.com/sponsors. They love it when you click on stuff, so please go check that out. And if you want to be part of the community, augforums.com/Rolodex. It takes about 30 seconds. You can go ahead and add yourself to that list. You can find other people in the community and kind of check it out. And lastly, my producer here, he's actually a little more comfortable behind, or not really in front of the camera, although he does it on occasion. He loves his podcasts. And so check out augforums.com/podcast for those. And those are going off on the off weeks of the live broadcast. So there we go. All right, we got that out of the way. Now we can get into the fun stuff. Guys, if you want to chime in, tell us where you are watching from. We always love to see that. We have a good crowd here. I'm down in Florida. We got Canada represented with Gabriel. We have Tim on the West Coast. Actually, Tim and I are probably about the same weather. We got some decent weather. Gabriel, how's the weather where you are right now?
It's rainy and colder today. We had pretty good week, warmer than usual for April. We sometimes have snow as late as May here. So it was good to be outside in short sleeves and enjoying the weather and the barbecue.
Man, yeah, I came from Virginia, so I'm still getting used to really not having a winter time or fall. I mean, there's really just hot and more hot. But yeah, so please chime in. Tell us where you are. Any exciting stories about weather is always great to talk about. So throw that out there. I see Pat expecting snow overnight. Wow.
Yeah, so that probably means snow in Montreal too. If he's in upstate New York, that's like 45 minutes from here.
I could not. I talked to someone from Denver they were talking about snow also. That's just crazy. I've got my blood's thinned out too much now. All right, but again, we got the stuff out of the way. We got Gabriel here, so let's get into the heart of things. So, Gabriel, why don't you give us a quick just overview? Like, what is Velixo?
Velixo is an Excel-based reporting tool for Acumatica that brings the power of the Acumatica Analytical Report Manager, ARM, to Excel. The goal of Velixo is to let any Excel user build financial reports, project reports, or any type of report from Excel that includes live data. We add a new toolbar to Excel. This is the Acumatica toolbar, so it's impossible to miss. And we have a set of functions that are specially designed to work with Acumatica. We do Acumatica and Acumatica only. Just like we discussed, Ryan, earlier this week, Acumatica has been my focus for the last almost 12 years now. And when I set out to build Velixo, I really wanted to make this a product that Acumatica users could relate to. There are other solutions like Velixo on the market that were built years and years ago. Let's say back when you had server in your in your office somewhere with a database and client server apps, and none of these solutions work really well or at all with a cloud-based product. So rather than trying to cater to 50 different ERPs with an app-based solution, I decided to do something that would be completely focused on Acumatica, and that would leverage the best and also the unique capabilities of Acumatica. So we do things, for example, like write back that allows you to update your budget, your project forecast, your GL. all the functions, the different arguments that you use in the Excel functions, they are designed specifically around the Acumatica financial and project module, generic inquiries, again, same thing. And finally, we try to leverage Acumatica where it makes sense. So drill down is a good example. If you're working on a spreadsheet and you want to reconcile a number or a calculation, you can click on that cell, and then we pop up Acumatica and bring you to the actual transaction. This is just one example, but we do many things that are made possible because of the focus that we have on Acumatica.
Okay, nice. And for the audience, we're not as a vendor selling servers, we are not poo-pooing the idea of having a server at your location, but we just are embracing also cloud. So
yeah, I'm really sorry, Ryan. I didn't continue. Yeah. But as you know, Acumatica has a very flexible deployment model, and this is actually the main reason why we picked up Acumatica. I told you how I first got introduced to Acumatica. That was around 2009, and I was a VAR back then, representing a different company, and our customers were not all that warmed up to the idea of putting their accounting data in the cloud. And Acumatica had this model where you could go SaaS, you could go on-premise, or you could have your own private cloud. And this is what our customers wanted. So 10 years ago, when I worked on my first implementations, they were all on-premise. We had a few customers that wanted to work with a data center because they did not have a fast enough connection for their branch offices. And slowly over time, we saw a migration to the cloud. But without the flexibility of Acumatica, that would not have been possible. And this is why we passed on NetSuite.
Yeah, actually one of the reasons we liked Acumatica was that exact reason. You can kind of move it to where you need to. So if you wanted it local, now all of a sudden your local is not working, you can kind of move it co-load. You could always then move it over to Amazon or Azure, whatever you wanted to do. Now, with Acumatica, you're not just like an ISV who created a software solution. You have like kind of deeper knowledge of Acumatica. Like when we were talking, you spent time at Acumatica. Is that right?
Yes. So this VAR business that I had, after a while, I decided that I wanted to move on. So I sold my shares to my business partner. And around the same time, Acumatica was trying to hire me. So I joined in the product management team. And I spent around 4 years at Acumatica. I was mainly responsible for product management. And once John Roskill came on board, I started doing demos as well. So people have probably seen me during keynotes. I was there every summit with John. At some point, we also started the Acumatica lab. So we opened an office in Montreal for Acumatica. It was still small when I left, but now they are, I think, going to reach 60 full-time employees in Montreal. This is where the Acumatica payroll product is currently being built, the e-commerce team. They have the integrations team as well, working on all sorts of products and projects. So
okay,
yeah.
So, and what's interesting is because of that, you have a much deeper, I think, understanding of Acumatica than a lot of these other partners out there. So you can add that to what Velixo does, and it strengthens that connection.
Yeah.
I had a quick story to add about that. I was at Acumatica during Gabriel's time, not all 4 years, but we were in DC one time right after Acumatica acquired the field service module. And if you've ever seen how active Gabriel is on the Acumatica community website, he's sitting there in the training class, putting out some fires via chat while having a conversation. Your ability to multitask is phenomenal. So you've got a depth of experience, and then just a breadth of what you're able to do still blows my mind.
Yeah, he's actually on TikTok right now also.
No, I'm not on TikTok. My teenagers probably are, but I don't have a TikTok account. I'm not sure I want to.
So in talking to you, anyone who's ever talked to you, you get that fact that you get Acumatica, and the tie-in to Excel, that's not new for you either. You've been working on these types of projects for years.
Yes, actually, so my background is programming. This is what I've always enjoyed doing. Even before I had a PC, I was learning programming. I think it was, and Tim, you were talking about multitasking, but that will be a fun story. So I was in elementary school, I think 6th grade, something like that. And, I was not really interested in the course or what the teacher was talking about. So I was reading programming books. I did not have a computer at that time, but I was learning basic programming. And the teachers knew that I was doing something else, and they were always trying to catch me, and just find the perfect time where they would be able to see that I'm not paying attention, but they were never able to. So anyway, this is right around the time I started coding. I was like delivering newspaper in the morning, and this is how I paid my first computer, a Commodore VIC-20. $75. So that
Wow.
that was a lot of money for I think it was like 11 at that time, and I started programming. And interestingly enough, but not for me because I really like this. My interest was like business apps, like writing software to manage a business. Initially, I did like that fake video rental store app on my Commodore. And within a few years, I started gaining more confidence, getting better. And before I finished high school, I launched my first commercial application. It was an estimating software for chain link fence installation company. So you could basically draw a sketch of your chain link fence, decide like if you wanted the barbed wire, the color, the post gauge and size, and so on. And it would just spit out a bill of materials, prepare a quote, you would see your profit margin, and you would be able to manage production. So I launched this product when I was 16 or 17. And actually, I still have customers using this product today. Yes. So
5 years later?
I'm 41 now, right? Yeah. So, but this is what launched my career in business apps. After that, I got tired of this piece of software. And by the way, we made so many. I say we. It's me. I need to take the blame here. So many mistakes. So I hired my father to sell this. My father was in the industry, so he took care of selling it to all the businesses locally. So 2 main mistakes that I made. Number one, we sold this as a lifetime license with free upgrades and free support. So you can imagine that after we pretty much cornered the market, that revenue dried out, and I got tired. I got tired being called at 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning because Linda forgot her password. Yeah, that was happening every single week. So I moved on to ERP at this point. I joined as an intern. I was still finishing college. And I got my first opportunity to work on a real accounting application, real ERP application. Eventually, we reached a point where, we had thousands of customers and the solution was stable, working. And reporting really seemed to be a pain point for our customers. We added some sort of report designer, very similar to what you have in Acumatica. It was a third-party product that we integrated, and customers still were not happy. And by interviewing customers, we realized that many users were actually exporting data to Excel and then building spreadsheets to meet their requirements. There was another local vendor that had something that looked a lot like a spreadsheet-based report designer for financials. So think of it like ARM in Acumatica, rows and columns. I was not familiar with this concept back then, but this is what these guys were doing, but it was inside a proprietary solution. So we had a discussion and said, I mean, why? That's so stupid. Why not do it in Excel directly? And we researched if there was any way to extend Excel, and we discovered that there was a way to add functions and basically allow users to build financials using this row column format straight from Excel. We were not really aware back then, but there are other solutions. There were other vendors. So products like F9, Jet Reports, Sage Alchemex are like all similar solutions that were built like, let's say 15, 20 years ago, and that try to fill the same gap that we were filling with this Excel-based report designer. So yeah, that was my first exposure. And again, just like I told you about my mistakes with this estimating solution when I was 16, 17 years old, we made mistakes too with the Excel add-in that we built back then. And Ryan, you're familiar with SQL, right?
I am, yeah. Oh yeah.
So the way the tool worked is that for every single cell and formula that you add, it would translate into a single SQL query. Turns out there are people.
That's slow.
Yeah, and there are people out there that will build spreadsheets with 100,000 cells and formulas. So imagine, I'm sure you have servers that are fast enough to handle that at Xbyte, but our customers did not have that luxury, unfortunately.
So again, we're not poo-pooing the idea of a bunch of cells calling SQL, so you need to add computer resources. Just clarifying, that is an okay solution if you don't want to go the Velixo route.
Yeah.
So yeah, so why don't you go ahead and share your screen, and we can kind of start to look at some of this, because how you and maybe you can start, because you just mentioned the the issues with kind of calling up SQL. Maybe start to how do you guys solve that problem?
There's actually a few things that are at play here with Velixo and Acumatica. During my 4 years at Acumatica, one of the things I was working on was the onboarding of ISVs. So actually, there was an entire team at Acumatica doing that, but I was often on calls with ISVs and listening to their challenges and providing technical guidance. One of the things that stood out back then is how difficult it was for some of these vendors to move from the traditional client-server model where you have a direct connection to the database and going from there to a cloud model where you need to use web services or things like OData to access this information. So really with Acumatica, I knew from the onset of this project that there would be an additional challenge. It was very slow doing 100,000 SQL queries with the server like sitting right next to me. So over OData or a web service, don't even think about it. Unfortunately, many ISVs that like first joined the Acumatica community just decided to work with on-premise installations only. So if you were using Acumatica in the cloud, you were out of luck. And for Velixo, this was not an option. I needed, and I also wanted to support local connections and SaaS environments. So the first like breakthrough that, I mean, not really a breakthrough, but the first innovation that was needed for Velixo was an efficient data extraction technique. So how do we connect to Acumatica and how do we pull this data quickly and efficiently? Even with all the optimizations in the world, like a web service or a OData endpoint will never be as fast as a direct database connection. So this had to be factored in the design of Velixo. Okay.
So what do you do with the data then? So it's not like an OData connection, and you're not doing a SQL connection and kind of dropping it onto another worksheet. What are you guys doing with the data?
I'll show you. So I just started Excel, and first let me show you this nice menu here. It's called Acumatica, your favorite software. I decided to label this Acumatica instead of Velixo because I want people to feel at home. And in my opinion, the Acumatica branding is much more important than Velixo, whatever name I would have. It's instantly recognizable and people know where to look when they first start Excel. So just to explain how we do the data extraction, I'm going to open the connection manager and add a connection to an Acumatica ERP instance. I will just enter my Acumatica URL, my tenant name, and then I will log in. We always ask users to log in using their own Acumatica credentials. This way, we are able to leverage the Acumatica security. Typically, third-party reporting solutions will mean that you need to set up the users all over again, reconfigure permissions and security. Well, Velixo is built for Acumatica, and we try to leverage as much as possible from Acumatica. And this starts right here with the login process.
But can you guys do like single sign-on or anything, or the new techniques from Acumatica, or you're still the old school?
Yes, we can do single sign-on. Actually, later on when we discuss GIs and Power Query versus Velixo, this is something that I will definitely mention again. Single sign-on is not supported in Excel. So although Excel allows you to connect to Acumatica, you will not find single sign-on. So we do have that available. Actually, I can show you. It pops up your web browser. Then you can use, let's say, Google or Office 365. And then you get the usual authorization and it connects. Okay.
And you're recommending to connect with your user fits with your licensing model as well, right? Because it's unlimited users, so you don't have to worry about as many users as you have.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, it goes beyond licensing and like simply authenticating. Restriction groups or role-level security is something else that is important to our users. We have many customers leveraging that extensively. We could discuss KFC, Ryan, again, and I can explain some of the ways that they're using Acumatica and the advanced security features for their reporting requirements. But anyway, back to data extraction. Once you have a link set up in your spreadsheet, you can start using the different Velixo functions in there. So let me, for example, get a list of all my Acumatica accounts in the spreadsheet. I will just type equal, expand, and then you can see a bunch of new functions. These are custom functions that we add to Excel and that you can use in your spreadsheets. Once again, we cover financials, projects, and generic inquiries. And most of the functions that you will find are like centered around these three main sections. So expand account range. This is a dynamic array function, so function that returns a list, and the list will be a list of accounts. I will just type the function name with demo, and then I'll press enter. And it was very quick because we're retrieving a very small amount of data. But let me explain what happens behind the scenes at this point. There is a process called Smart Refresh that takes care of retrieving the data from Acumatica on a lazy loading basis. So lazy loading means that we're only going to request this data when you need it. And then the smart portion of the refresh is that we're only going to ask Acumatica for new and updated records. So chart of accounts obviously is a small list, but if you add 100,000 accounts and you just add one, the next time you hit refresh, we're only going to download one account from Acumatica.
This works with the existing functionality for accounting and projects. You mentioned earlier on that you also work with generic inquiries, and we've done some sessions on the live broadcast on generic inquiries. But does that smart refresh also work with generic inquiries, or is that just for the core stuff?
It works with generic inquiries as well. In the case of GIs, you need to go to the options window to tell Velixo how you want to do the smart refresh. So should we jump into GIs now? Is it too early?
You can keep going with this. You talked about the smart refresh. You can kind of get into some of the accounting functions.
Okay.
We'll get into that in a little bit.
Okay, good. Yeah. So once we have extracted this data from Acumatica, we store it in a cache. Okay. So I could use a fancy name or call this a data warehouse just for advertising purposes. But I mean, behind the scenes, it's just a simple embedded database. This database is built using SQLite. So SQLite, just like that. SQLite is an open source project, and every single person on this live stream today uses SQLite without knowing it. If you have an Android smartphone, if you have an iPhone, you are using SQLite. It is everywhere on your device. It's a critical part of the application infrastructure, and this is what we use in Velixo as well to cache this information.
And it's cached locally on the person's machine somewhere in a folder, right?
Yeah. Actually, I can even show you. It's an app data. It's local app data, Velixo reports, cache. So here it is. Okay. The nice thing about SQLite is that it's very simple. You don't need to install a server. You don't need to maintain this database. Velixo takes care of the cache for you. And actually, I could show you how clean this is. I will basically delete the cache files that were just updated. So I sorted by date. I will delete those. And you might expect Excel to crash, but I will refresh and it still keeps working because it rebuilds this cache in real time. And it reloads the data if you drop the cache completely.
And there's a question from the audience, and I'll bring that in. And I'll also encourage, if anyone has any questions or challenges, one of the great things about doing a live broadcast is that you can kind of see people sweat. So we want to try and see if we can get Gabriel to just to sweat a little bit here and some of these questions. So I try to get him to stumble a couple times and been unsuccessful. So if anyone has any questions, kind of jump in here, and we'll kind of press Gabriel on some stuff. But there's a question by Fred here asking, is this smart refresh persistent or only active while the workbook is open?
Fred, the smart refresh is persistent. Once I close Excel, the cache will stay there. And the next time that you reopen the spreadsheet, it will reuse the cache. Also, very important to note that this cache will be shared between the different workbooks that work off the same connection. When you're working with Excel, you will generally have dozens, if not hundreds of workbooks or copies of the same workbooks. And it would make no sense from the performance standpoint to just rebuild this cache every time you start Excel or every time that you work off a different file. So the cache is persistent and it is also shared between workbooks.
And I like this as a differentiator with Power Query because I also like Power Query and the Power Pivot data models you can build, but that's taking a cache in every single Excel file. So one, it's adding to the size of every Excel file, and two, it's a separate copy for every Excel file. I like how you've got a cache outside of the Excel file, so your file sizes are only for the data that's being shown in the Excel file. I like that.
Hey, Tim, when you're using Power Query, where does it store the cache? Is it inside the workbook or it's somewhere else on your machine?
It's inside the workbook, at least when it saves it. So that's why your file sizes can get so big. Yeah.
Okay, I see.
I mean the data model specifically, the Power Pivot data model. Power Query is like an intermediary to bring data into the Power Pivot data model, and then it stores it in the workbook. Yeah, so they can get pretty big.
Okay.
There's a question here about it. If not a web service nor OData, what are you leveraging to access the data? Is that the SQLite you mentioned?
No, it is OData. We are using OData for the extraction. Web services are used for a few things like write back and version checks, but it is OData. But we have heavily tuned the data extraction so much that in some cases, like even a full refresh is faster than Power Query, simply because of the way we do it.
All right, great questions, guys. Keep them coming. All right. Sorry about that, Gabriel. What else we got here?
So I'd like to show you the file that we looked at together, Ryan, the other day. So like I'm sure that there are like geeks out there that understand SQL, OData, Power Query like very well. But once I show you this file, you will understand why a tool like Velixo is.
Is this a big one?
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah.
Oh, this is fun.
Yeah.
You guys are gonna like this.
Yeah. So after I left Acumatica in 2017, I took a few weeks off, actually a few months off, and I traveled with my family to Mongolia. And I don't know, like Ryan, have you ever seen what Mongolia looks like?
I believe I have, but actually I think my Apple TV has shown me some pictures of it. I mean, you're pulling up some pictures here. Now, this was a great story. This is a great story, because I asked everybody, or asked Gabriel, why Mongolia? You're looking to take vacation. What made you go to Mongolia? So what made you do that?
One sec. Let me open this picture here. Trying to open on my Mac. What am I doing wrong? Open. Edit. Do I need to open this with Paint? Oh my God.
There we go.
Okay.
Ooh.
Good. This is Gobi Desert in Mongolia. Yeah. So why Mongolia? My first daughter loves horseback riding. And a few years back, there was a travel blog and an article in the newspaper from a family. I think they still have a website they're calling like the 11 or Les 11 in French. They have 9 kids, and they traveled across Mongolia with the entire family. So I promised my daughter that one day we would go. Yeah, this is their family, and I'm sure I can find. Yeah, this is the same family in Mongolia. So after I left Acumatica, I sent them an email message. I wanted to discuss their trip and ask them a few questions, and they invited us for dinner the next day, basically. So this really convinced me about the trip, and we ended up staying around a month, 3 weeks in Mongolia. A portion was on horseback. I don't think I have any pictures of that, but let's open driver and food. Yeah.
And what I love about the story is that your daughter, and I have 2 daughters and a son, and I really can't have my daughter listen to this broadcast because she'll hear, oh, hey, the Gabriel's daughters wanted to go horseback riding in Mongolia, so he took them, and they're gonna get all these crazy ideas that all of their wishes can come true. Yeah, but that's awesome.
Yeah. So when you're in Mongolia, there is not much to do. You travel, but Mongolia is basically a huge country of nothing. There's nothing. It's like in many parts of the country, it's completely flat. It's deserted. You just see like cows, camels, and horses everywhere. So with that comes a lot of time to think, and I had a lot of time to think about what I wanted to do next. And this reporting add-on idea like kept coming back because I knew Acumatica had the same type of challenges with reporting, and customers were eager to find or to have access to additional tools and approaches for reporting. So I kept thinking, and I had like some like good ideas of how to achieve this with Acumatica, given the web service and OData overhead, and to really improve on the same solution that I built like 20 years ago. So back home in Montreal, I received a call from a friend and a longtime client of mine based in Paris. We did a few Acumatica implementations together early on, I think with Acumatica 3.0 in 2010 or 11. And he tells me about this new client that they just signed up. It's KFC, basically the KFC restaurant chain. But by the way, France is one of their biggest market. It's very hard to understand why French people would want to go to KFC when they have all this good food everywhere. But like KFC is really, really big in France. So he calls me and tells me about this report that they will need to submit every month So here is the spreadsheet. This is going to the parent company that uses SAP, and they need this to be filled out every month. And basically every single cell in there needs to have accounting data. So each column is a different restaurant. Each line is a different set of GL accounts and sub-accounts. And then you have, well, let's take a look, quite a few tabs in this huge spreadsheet, okay? So you don't have any options. Tim, you're an Excel expert, and Ryan, you understand the SQL. So how would you approach this if you were tasked with this like humongous report?
I mean, pull in a bunch of data to worksheets, do a bunch of VLOOKUPs, and hope that nothing ever changes.
Yeah, hoping it never changes. Good point. Yeah. It gets really challenging. Like VLOOKUPs is something that someone might consider like reasonably, but then you realize that like many of these lines use the same combination of GL accounts and sub accounts, and sometimes it's a huge list. Actually, I think if I scroll to the right, you'll be able to see the mappings. I removed all the data, but I think the mappings are still there. Let's see. Yeah, right here. Okay, so for each row, we have the account combinations. Let's see if I can. Yeah, I'm not able to make it wider because of like everything is locked in the file, but let's just take one line here. Let's see if I can copy.
There it is. And there's the linked files right there too, right? Where you've got to link different Excel files together, which, as Ryan said, gets disastrous when things change.
Yeah, I'll paste as values here. Maybe you can see the complexity. So this is one cell, that's 5 Acumatica accounts, and then it needs to be filtered on this as a second sub-account segment. So with VLOOKUPs, it would be like pretty hard. You would need to extract data from all the tenants. There are 6 tenants used in this file. So something else to keep in mind, we aggregate data from multiple sources together. And then like you have to deal with complex VLOOKUPs. And really like the deal killer here is the challenge to reconcile this data and validate that the numbers actually make sense. That is not possible with VLOOKUPs. So I mentioned, Ryan, the smart drill down feature that we have. Let me just look at a simpler spreadsheet. In Velixo, we have a cool feature that we call Smart Drill Down, and that allows you to click on any cell in your spreadsheet to see the full set of accounts, sub-accounts that are included. So you can click anywhere. Let's take the total here, drill down, and then drill down will bring up a window that lists all the cells in the spreadsheet that are included in this total. And this lets you quickly identify the different accounts and sub-accounts. So let's take this cell here as an example. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 accounts, branches, and then you can check the numbers, and you can even see the transaction details if you want. That's like really my favorite feature. And again, something else that was very challenging to implement in Velixo. That's another good example too of how the integration with Acumatica was done. Instead of showing you like a dumb spreadsheet or a grid in Excel, we basically take you to Acumatica and we let you look at the document. So this way you can very easily reconcile the information with what you have in the spreadsheet.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone on the line's ever tried to kind of pull data through OData or from actually directly from SQL into Excel, and then try to do what Gabriel just did with the view transactions. We've tried before to kind of do that link, to kind of do a hyperlink, and it never worked. It just kind of gave us plain text. We could never actually have it execute the Excel hyperlink function to give us that drill down capabilities. Because we've done stuff with pivot tables, and then you can drill down on pivot tables, but it has to be pivot tables, as you said. You can't just drill down on a random cell.
Yeah, and I mean, this is one example of the convenience that a tool like Velixo can provide. But we also forgot to look at something very important: the simplicity of the functions and formulas. VLOOKUPs require, more advanced knowledge, I would say. And if you want to do a VLOOKUP that will allow you to build this crazy spreadsheet, I am pretty sure that you will end up with a massive formula that is basically impossible to understand or maintain. With Velixo, we have these simple, easy-to-use functions like account name, where you basically need to click on the account name cell and press enter, and it gives you the balance. So let's do the same thing for the account balance. Let's say you want to look at the actual ledger for the first period of the year. You can just type equal account ending balance. And then all the arguments are arguments that any Acumatica user will understand. So obviously you have the ledger that is required. You have the account code here. And then you have your financial period in the tree, enter, copy, and that's it. It literally took 1 minute, and any Excel user can do that. So that's a big difference with BI solutions, with just like using pure OData to extract the information, or like even using ARM, like the built-in reporting tool. I mean, it's great, it's very powerful, but it takes time to learn and master. And it's very like long to do like simple things. Let's say you want another column here to look at actuals versus budget, and then compare both with a simple formula. Like any Excel user can do that in seconds, basically. So this is really where the value proposition lies. It's about empowering controllers, CFO, accountants, and people that need answers now.
A question on this in this data: is this the Acumatica base data, or is this your some custom demo data?
It's the Acumatica sales demo database, or like the Rapid Byte company.
I'm impressed with the company checking account balance compared to budget.
Oh, I mean, yeah, they really outperformed.
Man.
Yeah.
That's 62 million in your checking account and 30 in your savings account. I mean, that's the scenario we all want.
Ryan, I think the story beyond this account is that the first Acumatica demo data looked really bad. The company was losing shit ton of money every year, and all the KPIs were red, and they asked someone to build a company that looked a bit better. So this is what they came up with. And yeah, checking account, they might need some financial advice. I think it's not a good idea to keep that much in a checking account and even in a savings account. So I would look into something else. Maybe they could add Bitcoin just to make it look more modern. But we can debate whether Bitcoin is an investment or not.
That was so last year. Dogecoin is where everyone's at now.
Yeah.
So in this, it'll pull up ending balances. Can you do any? If you wanted to get like quarter over quarter, is that a built-in function, or is that something where you're going to have to pull in? You're going to have to do some comparisons between months to get there.
No, that's a built-in function. So let's do something. I will change the account range here just to look at my revenue accounts, revenue and expense. So let's do everything from 40,000 to 99,999. I'll just take out asset and liability accounts. Okay, and I will add from to let's make it look nice. So let's say you want the first quarter. I will just change the formula to be account turnover. And the only difference is that account turnover has a from and to argument. Okay. And there's no data in 2020, so let's change that to 19. Okay. Another aspect of the data extraction logic can be seen right here. When we load GL history balances, we only retrieve the current ledger and the current financial year. One of the things I worked on while I was at Acumatica was to optimize ARM, the built-in financial reporting engine. And one of the customers that was implementing Acumatica back then had like 20 years of GL history and a crazy complex GL structure. And the initial code was loading everything into memory and then doing the processing. So by employing lazy loading and like focusing only on what you need, because I mean, if you think about it, you will rarely build a report that looks at 10 years. You might be looking at current year versus prior year, or maybe just current quarter. So it makes no sense to load 20 years of data just to build this very simple report. So when I switched from 2020 to 19, it connected to Acumatica to refresh this financial year. And the same thing will happen if I load the budget ledger for 19. It will also refresh this part of the data set.
Now, something interesting that I saw someone doing a demo of Velixo that actually wasn't you, and I forget who it was now, is that they used a parameter sheet so they can create named references. Because I see you typing demo over and over again.
Yes.
And so can you? I'm sure you've seen that or even helped do that. Can you show some of that so people can kind of see how they can do some of that named cell references?
Sure. Actually, the KFC file is a good example. This one has a cover sheet. You can see it right now. And this one has like the entity, period end, number of months, and currency. So you can create name references. I'll go back to this version here. All that parameters, connection demo. And then let's say financial year, period 1. Then we can use the name references feature of Excel. Call that connection name, fin year, fin period. And then anywhere I'm using demo, I can replace that with connection name. Okay, and here I could do the same thing with the financial period. So let's say I want financial period, connection name, fin year, fin period, fin period +3, +2, and do the same thing right here as well. So if you have multiple sheets, multiple reports, next time you change that, it's going to refresh the entire spreadsheet. Okay.
I think this is a great example of something you already pointed out, and that this is just Excel. So the training on this, in my opinion, is fairly light. I mean, you got the drill down, you got some email distribution capabilities, you got the special formulas, but you know, my experience, you show this to someone and it doesn't take long for it to click in that, oh, it's just Excel formulas. So all that existing Excel knowledge that they have kicks in, and all the name references, all the stuff you're doing here is really not Velixo stuff, it's Excel stuff, right? And this might be a segue, Ryan, to your commissions example, but I guess the question I have for you, Gabriel, is do you find that this really is a finance tool because finance people love Excel, or are you finding more that operations is getting interested in this type of solution?
The vast majority of our users are like primarily finance people working in like finance, FP&A group or reporting. We do have a pretty good project base, customer set of customers. So construction companies, Acumatica as the construction edition, as you know. I'll show you here a set of samples.
There's a question from our YouTube live group here, and I'll follow up with this with another question. But is there a list of Velixo formulas or help in Excel on them? And then also, you've shown some of this demo data. Do you guys ship with anything already pre-set up for people if they want just like a trial balance or a balance sheet or an income statement already built, and then they can modify that? Or is that something they're building from scratch, or we're getting a partner to do?
Okay, first question, function list. You can find functions and all the functions available a few different ways. First of all, anywhere in Excel, if you type equal and a few words, it will show you functions. So if you're looking for the balance, well, here we go, name, you'll find that. Next, you can use the insert function button right here. Insert function lists every single function available in Excel, and the Acumatica specific functions are right here. So GL project, generate inquiries, audit, and list functions right there. You can also go to the Velixo website. So I will just click help here directly. It will take me to the account ending balance function. Okay, so this is the full documentation of the function. But then on the same website, you can go to the Velixo functions section, and you'll see a list of all the different functions. We have right now 41 plus 18 plus 14 plus 2 functions, so over 60 at this point, and they are all documented on this website. So yeah, I was mentioning project functions. This is an example project report. Once you understand like how one module works, you understand pretty much the rest and the entire set of functions in Velixo. We built this trial balance. Let's look at project expenses here. This is a function called project ending amount, and it expects a project code, task, account group, cost code, inventory item, and period. So it's very simple. Again, something that any Excel user can understand and use. And just to reinforce what Tim said earlier, this is Excel. So you can use these functions anywhere. Like Velixo does not force you to build your reports any particular way. And this means that you also probably have spreadsheets that you have built before that you are using like daily, weekly, monthly, and that can benefit from these functions. So although we have sample reports, ready-made reports that people can use as a starting point, I find that many of our customers will actually use files that they already have, and they will simply add these formulas. So if you have a trial balance or a profit and loss that you update or like export or like use copy paste, well, you can start using the function. You enter it once, and then you just fill it down, and you instantly get the Velixo power in your existing spreadsheets. Ryan, I think you had another question related to that.
Yeah, it's about what sample reports or Excel workbooks do you send with the with Velixo?
The samples that we're looking at today, there's an example section on the Velixo website. And actually, this is a good segue into GIs and what we do beyond financials and projects. We always add requests from people like to build reports that include more information, like more than just financials. Very typical requirement is to have AR and AP aging as part of a board package or a report that people need to send to their lenders, to investors. For sure, you can go to Acumatica, you can export it, but people like the convenience of having that directly in the spreadsheet and having something that refreshes straight away when you change the date or if you filter by branch. So this became possible once we added generic inquiries to Velixo. GI is really how you can access any entity in Acumatica. And we found that to be the right solution to the problems that people were trying to achieve. Previously, I toyed or I played with the idea of having functions to retrieve inventory, to access customer balances, so let's say equal customer balance. But I never quite liked this idea because the number of fields, the way people want to filter is basically, I mean, there's an unlimited number of combinations. With GL, with projects, it is well defined. So we have a sandbox or like a playground, and like these are the variables that you control. So it is very easy to build a one-size-fits-all function that is simple to use and yet very powerful because it can cover every single requirement. And this was not the case with things like customer balance or inventory. So this is why we set out to build the GI function. And I can actually show you how the GI works. And we could work on your commission report too, Ryan, at this point. If you I'll go to Acumatica and open invoices and memos. So I don't know if everyone watching today is familiar with generic inquiries, but what you're looking at right now is a generic inquiry. In Acumatica, whenever you open a screen, whether it's customers or payables or invoices, you will see a list as the entry point. Actually, that was a bad example. I deleted it in this case. There's like a strange issue.
But I'll do a little shameless plug here. If you do need to know more about generic inquiries, we actually did Tim and I did a geek out session on GIs a few weeks ago. So Tim will grab that URL and he can throw it out in the chat, so you guys can also drill down into that and enjoy our geek out session on generic inquiries. And there's a chance there could be some shirts at Summit for our hashtag of GI Joes for those people who love, and GI Janes for those people who love generic inquiries. So just throwing it out there.
I love that. I want a shirt. Please, please reserve one for me. So Ryan, AR invoices and memos. This is the name of my GI.
Okay.
Here, and then I can go to Excel and do equal GI, and then just type that. Actually, let's use AR invoice details because if you want to build a commission report, this is likely what you will need. Oh, it says AR invoices details. Yes, AR invoices details. So GI, again, this is formula based, unlike Power Query in Excel. So this means that you can have that anywhere in your spreadsheet. And it uses the dynamic array functionality of Excel to return this data. So dynamic arrays are basically functions that return more than one cell. This is a good example here. I just have one function and it spills out to multiple columns and multiple rows. Tim, did you do anything on dynamic arrays on your blog or in a video before? I know we exchanged some emails around that.
Yeah, I haven't done much, but I know they're fairly new and they open up a lot of possibilities, right? It used to be that array formulas in Excel were tricky to use. This is a whole new thing. And as far as I understand, I think it's within the last year, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you can do like very cool things. Let's say you want a list of customers for a drop-down filter. I could use equal unique, pick the column here. And actually, let's do like unique, like that for now. There are better ways to do that, but for the sake of showing what unique does. So unique is another dynamic array function that gives you unique values. And then I could sort that and then make a dynamic list out of it. So customer selection here could be list, and the list is what I have right here in A4. This can build a dropdown, and this is something that I can use later on to filter my generic inquiry. So it's pretty cool, and it's simply like new Excel formulas and functions that help you do that.
I just dropped one in the chat, a link for anyone who wants to read up about dynamic arrays.
Nice. Cool. Okay, so let's take a look at the GI again. So now you have this table here that is returned by the GI function. And since it is now part of your Velixo or Excel spreadsheet, it means that you can refresh it as needed. You can click refresh all here, and it will refresh the GI with everything else in the workbook. So again, it's a one-click refresh. This is what people like. Keep in mind that
question on that, because earlier we talked about how your built-in functions use the smart refresh, and you mentioned that you could do that with GIs as well. How would you set this up for smart refresh?
Great question. So with the built-in GIs, the setup is already done for you because we control the GI and how we extract the data. For the GIs that you build yourself, you need to go to the options window, locate the GI, and then set up smart refresh. I can click smart refresh here, and the system is smart enough, again, it's smart refresh, to figure out that you have a last modified date time field. You either need to use last modified on or timestamp or tstamp if it's available, and you must configure key fields. The key fields are the unique values that identify this row in the database. So when we receive a new row, we know that we either need to add or update something. In this case, we actually give you suggestions. Acumatica does not do a good job at suggesting the key fields. You can see that the key icon is like there multiple times. What I need is the order type, order number, and line number. So this is what gives me a truly unique value.
Okay, so key can be a combination. It is not one field. So in this case, you could have it would with like AR tran data, you could specify multiple fields. Nice.
Yeah, correct. And if you don't have unique values, you'll get this nice error message. So we do have duplicate keys in cache. So for some reason, there is something duplicate here. There's a blank order type and blank order number that is returned. So the risks of doing something live, there might be a bug.
Also the rewards. This is what makes it fun, I think.
Because everyone can relate to this. Everyone's done something like this, and they've banged their heads. And they're like, "Why is it not working?"
Oh, you know what? I know why it's not working. The unique keys are not order type and order number. This is AR. This is AR. So my mistake.
Ref.
Yeah. So this is
type and ref number.
I think it's type and then reference number. And then line number. Okay.
So while you're doing this, this is still using the same cache. So that same cache file we looked at, this is still getting cache.
Yes, correct. It is loading now. So you can see in the status bar that it's loading so far 8,000 records. And if I do a subsequent refresh, it will be almost instant because nothing was changed or added.
And one thing I really like about these dynamic array formulas is a lot of times when you're looking to bring back something into Excel, you're just looking to bring back the total, right? So let's say we want that extended price. I think you can just wrap this in the sum formula, if I remember correctly.
Yes, the GI function as additional argument, so you can filter. A filter is quite interesting because, again, this is something that is very hard, if not impossible, with Power Query to have inline filters. And then you can change a selection. So if you only want to have X price, you could do that. And then you could just wrap this in a sum. And you'll get the total.
That's really cool.
Something interesting from our actual, and Tim, thank you for posting the Geek Out session on GIs. One of the things that we talked about, and I don't know if it was in that session or in the reporting session, is that with a generic inquiry, if you export it into Excel, you cannot control the cells that come out. So if you have, I know we have some GIs that are a ton of fields. When you export it, you mainly want to see a couple of fields, and it's something you're going to export a lot of times because you just do some other things with it, but you don't need to see all of that data. And this, if I saw that correctly, on your select function, you can tell it which fields you want to show. You just did it here.
Yes, exactly. This is what we did here. Yeah. So you can.
It's comma delimited, right? If you wanted just a random list of fields, you just list them with a comma.
Yes. So let's remove the sum. Let's add type, reference number, customer name. Yes, a comma delimited list. Okay.
All right. Do you have any open invoices? I want to challenge this. I want to challenge this smart refresh.
You will. Do I have?
I want to edit an invoice and see if it how it handles that.
There is no status column, but I am pretty sure that if we take a look at this list here, well, let's add an invoice. Does that work?
That works, yeah.
Okay, and then we can modify it. Okay. And we need to add filters to add some. Oh, there's one. Yeah, there's one. Data filter.
And while you're doing that, this is where it gets interesting to me for operations, because now you could pull any data you want from Acumatica, from any module, just like you can with the generic inquiry. You're just connecting to the generic inquiry. And that's where I wonder in the future here, Gabriel, next couple of years, if you're going to start getting more operations interest. Because I think in general, you find that accountants are comfortable living in Excel. But I think there's also a lot of operations people as well. Maybe not as frequently, but I think there are a lot of operations people who like Excel, and I wonder if you're going to find more and more interest from the operations side in the coming years.
One of the things we could do, Tim, is leverage the OData v4 support that was added to the last Acumatica update. I think it showed up in 2020 R2. With OData v4, we can basically query the entire set of data access classes with relations and filters without the need to build a GI. So we could basically build a tool with some visual user interface that would let people build ad hoc queries. We could even have some sort of query playground where people can build these queries from other queries in the community. This might be a very helpful tool. But yes, I think, Tim, you're right. On the operational side, there's definitely opportunities for Velixo as well.
Adding to that for a second, because when you first showed me this earlier this week, the first thing that popped in my head is all of these companies doing merchandising, where they're having to keep their product descriptions in line. They're doing price comparisons, because a lot of times they're probably pulling in data from other sources to figure out competitive nature of their products, to kind of figure out, okay, what's my pricing look like for this? They're looking at Amazon. Okay, is my description in line with all that? And they will do all of that in Excel. And they could, of course, just save that and do some sort of import scenario against that if they wanted to. But having that ability to kind of write back like inventory data, I think it's not to control your product life cycle or your cycles or anything. I think that could be another great iteration of this.
Yeah, right, Ryan. Write back is something that we do in Velixo. We have 3 very specific use cases: one for GL transactions, the other one for budgets. So here's the budget write back example. And I mean, people can build a budget, like bring external data. Again, this is another like important thing to mention. Like Excel allows you to connect to so many data sources. And this is something that is very hard to do if you're using built-in reporting tools in any ERP. For sure, with Acumatica, you can build a SQL view, you can create custom tables, and then set up synchronization, and then use this in Report Designer. But it's going to require like 2 developers for I don't know how much time, when you could like simply use Excel, use like text file, CSV, SQL, OData, like whatever is available there, and just use that for merchandising or budgeting or any other scenario where it makes sense to combine data from multiple sources. Yeah. So going back to the write back here with budget, you can take this here, make changes, and then push it back to Acumatica. And I've been thinking of having some sort of generic write back feature that could work with other scenarios. With generic comes more complexity, and this is something that I'm trying to stay away from. Like even that GI function is still, it's always something that requires more knowledge of Acumatica and the table structure, and I want to stay away from this as much as possible. Velixo is a simple product. We barely get any support requests and questions from people because the product is simple. Have you played with import scenarios, Ryan?
Oh yeah, yeah. Import scenarios work, and from merchandising standpoint, if it is possible, I mean, you can just save your Excel sheet and do that import scenario. It's not complicated, but I've experienced enough times where those import scenarios break for whatever reason. A new column gets added and it blows everything up, or there's some data that's just, and imagine you'd run into the same sort of issues doing an import from Excel into something like inventory, where something will break. I can definitely see where it adds the complexity there.
Absolutely, but if we had something simple to update Acumatica, like any screen in Acumatica, I think this is something that users would like. I do get this request from time to time from users. I'm just looking for a simple solution to this problem. And until we get that like magical spark, it's probably not going to happen. But maybe at some point. So do you want to try the smart refresh?
Yeah, let's challenge it. Let's change one and see if it actually is a smart refresh.
Okay, so I'll change this one to.
Not that I doubt you.
Four, save. I updated 2 lines, and actually, let's even add an invoice. SPL.
So what should happen is it's only going to refresh those 3 lines, which means it should should go faster, right?
We'll refresh both lines here and add a new one. Here we go.
Yeah, way faster than the first time. Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. I'm working off the sales demonstration database. It's not big, but we have customers with huge databases. It's very important. So that big KFC file, for example, that we looked at earlier, this is the largest spreadsheet that we've worked on, one of the largest ones, and the refresh takes less than 2 minutes. And we're like talking about like 2 tenants, over 100,000 individual cells that need to be refreshed. With my first Excel-based reporting tool, I think it would still be calculating 15 years later. It was slow. It was really slow, even on simple spreadsheets. So here, I think that the product does a great job. Its calculation is multi-threaded. We have an in-memory calculation engine, and it is like the result of a lot of time, like tweaking, profiling, optimizing as much as possible the calculation. Yeah.
Ryan, how are we on time? Do we have another 10 minutes for a make them sweat question?
Yeah, we've actually I'll throw it out to Gabriel. And I know you were backing up to something, but you were so excited to have us try and make you sweat. I think you made a few minutes for us. Do we have you for another 10 minutes?
Oh yes, sure. As long as you want.
So to me, one of the most interesting things about Velixo is not just where it's at, it's where it's going. Same thing with Acumatica. It's not just about where is it at right now, it's the trajectory. I think that's what gets people excited about it. And like we just saw here, dynamic array formulas, some of that you don't even have to develop. You just get the benefit of stuff that Excel adds in, right? And so to me, it's not just about what can you do right now, it's where you're going. And we've exchanged some emails on email distribution. And that's really interesting to me because I find that what a lot of people want is they just want the email to hit their inbox with an attached Excel file. And we've talked a little bit about what you're doing with Excel Online and potentially being able to have email that gets scheduled with attached Excel files off of your computer. So your computer doesn't even have to be run. Maybe you could just give us, it might not be fully defined, but maybe you could just give us some futuristic thoughts on what you might be able to do there in the future.
Sure, Tim. First things first, let's look at report distribution. This is an important piece of financial reporting, and our customers need to distribute reports that they built with Velixo. Like the very first question that people usually ask me is, what happens if I open this file and I don't have Velixo installed? First of all, you don't need to worry about licensing costs. If you want to install Velixo everywhere, let's do it. It's free once you have a license for your Acumatica instance. Number 2, you can just use this tool here that will strip out the connection and everything that is Acumatica specific from your web file, from your workbook, I'm sorry. Now, if you need to take complex packages, run the same report over and over again, let's say you have multiple branches, multiple projects, and then you need to send the same report to multiple audiences that each have different requirements, you can use this tool here, report distribution. This is basically a list of reports or recipients. And for each of them, you can pick the format, file name, content, so the list of tabs, and then where the file needs to be sent, email, SharePoint, OneDrive. And the cool thing is that you can also apply filters at the same time. So in this example, we are changing the branch name. Okay, branch name is nothing but a name reference. So here in the name box, I have branch name, and this is this field here. So you can change values while this is running. We have a customer that has, I think it's a nonprofit, they have 700 cost centers, and they need a report for every single cost center. They've been able to automate that with report distribution. So once you have this list built, you can simply click distribute all here.
Tim, is that you?
No,
I think that's Gabriel's wait for something to work background music.
No, this is background music. It's not included with Velixo, unfortunately, but we're looking at adding the background music. Okay. So it's done. Yeah, so this basically created a bunch of emails in my drafts, and as you can see, Tim, it attaches reports, PDF, Excels, and one of the new things in Velixo 6 that we released last month is the ability to include a portion of the spreadsheet directly in an email message. Okay,
is that just an image? Is that like a PNG image?
No, it's HTML.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
We convert.
Wow.
Yeah, we use built-in HTML conversion, and then we copy paste that into the email.
Okay. So I like that. What I don't like is that my computer has to be on to do it, right? I want it to happen at 2 a.m. every morning, and my computer is shut down and stowed. That's a futuristic scenario I'm curious about.
Yes. Okay. I think we're going to kill two birds with one stone to meet this requirement. Is that an acceptable way of saying it, Tim?
Yep. Yep. You got it. You got it.
Good. So we have a new product that has been in development. Well, I'm saying new product. It's the same Velixo that people know. However, it's a brand new design. We had to do a ground up rewrite to support Excel Online and Excel format. So this is something that we have been investing massively in. I have a team that's been focused on that full time. Actually, one of my team members, Pavel, was on the call today. Pavel is working like overtime on this. It's great, and I'm very excited about what the future holds. So right now you can see I'm in my web browser. Let me see if I have a file here. So I will open this one. So this is basically Excel running in the browser.
Just give Pavel a shout out.
Last year, Microsoft added the ability to create custom functions to Excel Online. So this is what we needed to support Velixo in the browser. So let me click here and hit refresh. So same concept. Recalculating, and I can change a financial period and it will refresh. So this is the same platform that, sorry, Tim.
Can you comment on where the cache is in an online world?
This is still in flux. Okay, this product is still in development. We're using something called IndexedDB. Initially, when I started discussing this project, I had like the crazy idea of having a data warehouse and a centralized server and everything. But Pavel on my team convinced me that this was a bad idea. Because it means that we are now in the business of storing customers' data, which we're not today. Like when you're using Velixo, it is Velixo that directly connects to your Acumatica instance. So even if you have a nice server that was sold to you by Xbyte running in your private intranet, you can still use Velixo today because we don't rely on a data warehouse or external synchronization service. So it's the same thing now with Velixo on Excel 365. We use IndexedDB, it's local, and everything happens between your web browser and your Acumatica instance. So the reason I'm mentioning and I'm bringing this up is because we want to bring Excel Online to feature parity with our existing Windows product. And this means potentially like technical trade-offs in some areas because the Excel Online API is not sophisticated enough at this point to support something like report distribution. And as you pointed out, Tim, earlier, I also know that some users would like to be able to do scheduled report distribution. So having some sort of centralized service that could do this for you could help us handle both requirements. So support report distribution on Excel Online and Max, and also enable scheduled report distribution. But in such cases, it would likely mean that there's an external cloud service that runs the report distribution.
That makes sense. So something that you're kicking around, maybe an idea of how you could run it on Velixo server somewhere. I think it still comes down to, because it's all local, essentially. It basically comes down to a machine running somewhere that would be doing it, right?
Yes, exactly. If you want to run distribution without being logged in, we have something on the Velixo website. Let me Google it right here. But we do have a VBA macro that you can use. It's quite simple, actually. Just call run distribution list, and you can use the Windows task scheduler to run that.
But your computer still has to be on. You're just not logged in, right?
Yeah, but I don't really like these solutions, because if it fails, you're not informed. I mean, it's like the scheduled task in Acumatica. It's cool you can run these tasks, but if it fails, you don't really know. You need to look. Somebody needs to maintain that. So you showed me, what was the name of the service then that you showed me?
Well, there's another local service. So there's one called Power Update that I've used. That's a way to refresh Excel files and have it send an email out. Yeah, that one right there. This is all about the Power Query and Power Pivot data models. And it's the same challenge, though. Your computer has to be on. So I used to use this years ago at a manufacturing company. It was still nice that I didn't have to remember to do it. And I actually stuck it on a server. I mean, we were in an X-Byte situation. We had servers in the server room. So I just had it run on a server and I was good to go. But I know a lot of people in the cloud world don't have that luxury anymore unless they buy this. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is more your thing, Ryan. Maybe we just need some X-Byte email distribution service.
I've been told that everyone should really have a server for doing testing locally, before they do upgrades and kind of training and stuff. So this is a good additional use.
So you need something that's running Windows. That's a full-on environment that this could be scheduled in, right? For someone not to have to worry about it. So if it's at X-Byte, if it's at Velixo.
There are some cloud-based workstations. I think Amazon may have one of them. I think Microsoft does as well. Could something like that be done? I mean, you could create a virtual desktop environment to do something like this.
Totally. Yeah, you could do a EC2. I think it's what's called an Amazon, but still someone would have to manage it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then it means that we potentially need to host customer data or process customer data. There are implications on like security side, legal side, and like Velixo suddenly like turns into this like very simple, easy to use product into a monster. So it's a trade-off. We need to consider our options, and I would like to find a way that doesn't mean that we need to turn into something like Power BI. Yeah,
I hear you.
So if anyone in the YouTube has any ideas, chime in. You can also always, if you're watching this in the recording of it, you can always add to the comment section in YouTube if you have great ideas on kind of how to do this distributed reports from really a closed workstation, or from not even needing to have a workstation open.
Yeah, we need a solution for that. Right now, we're working on bringing generic inquiries to Excel Online and Excel for Mac. This, by the way, means that we will have OData support before Microsoft in Excel Online. Yeah, but they are working on it, in all fairness. And once we have OData GI built into, most likely write-back will be simple to re-implement. Distribution, again, it means that we will need to have some sort of cloud service or server running in my office to process this, and I'm not so sure on that solution yet.
Oop.
Oh, Tim, you're on mute.
Tim's on mute. And
oh, sorry about that. But thanks for going on the tangent. I'm optimistic you'll figure something out. I think it's a cool scenario.
Yeah, and keep sending me emails with ideas. I like being challenged, and I'm sure that we will find a solution. We found solutions to all the challenges before, so this is just another one of these challenges.
All right, guys. Well, we've hit the going on to the close to an hour and a half has been amazing. Actually, all great experience here. Kind of, I know we've gone off on a bunch of different tangents and got to see Mongolia. I don't think anyone who signed on at noon Eastern time thought they were going to see pictures of Mongolia. So that's kind of cool to see. But it's a backstory, I think, that kind of makes the difference on. Everyone can kind of see. I mean, Gabriel, you've been an awesome YouTube channel. People can go there and see a lot of the videos. But hearing some of the background, people have some confidence. Okay, hey, in the future, it's going to continue to be amazing because of your passion around Excel, your experience with Excel, your experience with Acumatica. You're not just someone who knew Excel and is like, oh, Acumatica. Okay, let me pile on Acumatica. You spent 4 years in the trenches there at Acumatica, and you knew all the players. So it really gives that confidence that Velixo is going to be strong into the future. When we were talking on Tuesday, I don't want to necessarily mention this if I'm not allowed to. You mentioned something about posting. Is that beta?
You said unposted transactions or what?
Yeah.
No,
yes,
it's not beta. It's part of Velixo version 6 that we released last month. Actually, we overcome 2 limitations of ARM in the last release. So unposted transactions and reporting based on the transaction date. So people, for example, in restaurant or hospitality, they need to have weekly sales report, daily sales report, and this is simply not possible today with ARM. I don't know, is my screen still up, Tim?
We lost Tim.
Yeah, okay.
There we go.
Okay, my screen
is now.
Okay, thanks. So unposted transactions, actually, we added a checkbox in this sample. If you click there, you will notice that the advertising account goes up by 15,000. So we simply added a new argument for our functions, include unposted. By default, you just get posted transactions, as you've been seeing in the past. 2 gives you unposted only, and 3 is posted and unposted. And now you can also use dates. So let's go to this example we built earlier. I will, let's say from 2019-01-01, okay, the first 5 days of 2019. Like that. So, I mean, this is just an example of the ongoing work that we make to the product and the investments. And it's always based on community feedback, the stuff that I hear from our partners, discussions with other community members like you and Tim. It's very important for us to stay current and ensure that we support the new stuff in Acumatica, but also that we meet our customers' reporting requirements. So
interesting story is that so coming into this, I had really not played around with Velixo a lot, and being a technical person, I've always been like, oh, are you kidding me? Just spin up a SQL view and load it into Excel, do some VLOOKUPs, do some do Power Queries. It's like, oh, of course you should be able to do it that way. It's a breeze. I mean, or just go edit the GI. It should be a breeze. Just go do that. Users, why can't you do this kind of stuff? But in our conversation, it's really the fact that the CFO and the users don't want to do that. They want it easy. They want Excel, and that's kind of what it all comes down to is that. And so I had never really looked at Velixo, but in just our discussions on Tuesday and now our discussions today, I've already sold the CFO on this, and so you've gotten a new customer now. So we're definitely on board with this, and it's been amazing to see that. And coming from a technical person, I'm like, all right, you know what? Now people aren't going to ask for this stuff. Sold. they can go do other stuff. That's beautiful. They give the power to the users and make it not a challenge. So I thank you very much for the time, Gabriel, and for opening all of our eyes and kind of showing off. If anyone listening or watching, nothing else, that just including Unposted is massive from a reporting perspective to kind of to not. I know Acumatica just opened up the ability to edit invoices, which has always been a challenge because before in the past, once you posted, you're done. And so but even so, it adds an extra layer to edit those. So being able to see unposted financials is awesome. So great work on that and everything you've done. I look forward to talking to you in the future as a customer, as well as just other ventures that we get into. So Tim, thank you very much for joining us. Gabriel, thank you very much for coming over. Gabriel, I'll give you last word. If people want to know more about Velixo or reach you, what should they do?
Velixo.com. There's a big button that you can click on if you want to register for a demo. I always do one-on-one demos with every single customer. So this way I'm able to walk you through the product and answer questions. It's very important for us to like take time to explain how the product works. And we also work with like pretty much every single Acumatica partner out there. So more than likely your Acumatica partner already has resources that are familiar with Velixo. They've been trained and they can also help you. So you can also ask your Acumatica partner if you'd like a demonstration and I'll coordinate with them. Otherwise, Tim, I know you posted the link to our YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is a great resource, and just earlier this week, by the way, you can use youtube.com/c/Velixo. This is a short link. It's easier to remember.
Press that one on time.
Oh, come on. UCTZDDK lowercase d. Oh, man. I already got it memorized.
Yeah. Yeah, so YouTube, and I mean, join the AUG forums, the Acumatica community website. I'm very active, and I'm always happy to answer questions. Like even when it's just like Acumatica related, I have a lot of fun. This is a great community, and people like Tim and Ryan, really help make Acumatica successful. This is what makes this community so good and so fun to work with. So thank you guys for having me. It was a pleasure. We had a lot of fun, and I hope that we can do this again. And like I want to sweat and I want to be challenged. So so we need to find something really tough. So we could build this commission report too another day, but
another day. All right. Thank you guys very much. For my kids, I don't want to give the camera here. They like to be internet famous. So thank you guys very much. You guys get to be internet famous again. All right, guys, signing off. Thank you for joining AUGforums.com live. We will see you guys in 2 weeks when we talk deep dive into wow, I'm drawing a blank right now, into the workflow. So the workflow engine of Acumatica, we're doing a deep dive. We have Doug Johnson from Acumatica joining us with one or two other people as well from Acumatica. So it should be a great time. And speaking, a chance to kind of drill down and kind of make people sweat. We'll kind of see what questions we get from the audience on that one. So thank you guys very much.
Actually, Ryan, on that, I sent you an email already. Someone responded with an idea. And
okay.
Give me a couple seconds to grab the link for... Let's see if anyone has any other ideas for things they'd like to see how to do it in the new workflow engine. Let me drop one last link in here. Workflow engine ideas. You can use that discussion to let us know any ideas you want to see in a couple weeks.
Great. Thank you guys very much. Thank you for joining us. Again, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thank you guys.